Let's talk about Chelsea and whether they are the real deal. They're through to the last 16 of the Champions League after thrashing Juventus 4-0 in the Champions League. What did you make of the performance, Craig?
Solid. We talked about it in the FC show yesterday. Just solid back to front. You know, even making changes, Kay, like he has with rotation, different players coming in and, you know, players going out, and getting a similar kind of performance at a good level from the guys that come off the bench. I mean, that's the perfect scenario for a manager, that you know you can go to your bench, whether it's during the game or whether it's through a heavy period of fixtures, and the performances in general are not going to drop. They had a blip against Burnley a couple of weeks ago where that was the only points really they've dropped at home recently with that Burnley equaliser when they dominated the game. But they put Leicester to bed really easy, and they put Juventus away with consummate ease. I mean, we know Juventus are struggling. We know it's not a great Juventus side, but still to make those changes, and let's not forget, still no Romelu Lukaku, and yet they're able to score 4 goals. But just as impressive, it's another clean sheet. I think it's 4 goals, certainly in the Premier League. That's all they've conceded all season. I'm not quite sure about the Champions League, but it's not a lot. So it's very, very impressive.
I think they thought I was crackers the other night on FC, Craig, because I asked if they're actually underrated. I feel that we hear a lot about Liverpool, we hear a lot about Man City, but given the fact that Chelsea are top of the table, that they're defending Champions League holders, do you feel that there is enough talk and fanfare around them?
No, I think there is. I think what's happened recently is one club in particular have sort of taken all the headlines. I mean, Manchester United are a headline story at the best of times because of the way they travel globally and their brand and the history and all that goes with it. And you throw in the debacle around Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and most networks around the globe are talking about it. So it has, you know, made the likes of Liverpool's run and, you know, City performances, Chelsea's performances go under the radar a little bit. But now that the United thing is a story, but not a Solskjaer story, and now that we know United are certainly not in the running to win the league, it's going to come down to certain factors. We know it's probably now a 3-horse race, for sure, although at the start of the season it looked like it might be 4. It's now 3 teams. And we know these 3 teams are also vying for the Champions League, and we know Man City are absolutely desperate, no matter what they say, to have success in that competition too. So I think in some sense that's one of the reasons Chelsea haven't got all the headlines. And also the fact they're probably not the most flamboyant of those other teams that I mentioned, City and Liverpool. But again, I go back to that point, Kay, they are, in general, they're a really solid outfit who do almost every facet of the game pretty well.
Would you bet against them doing the big double this year, Premier League and Champions League?
I would bet against them just because it's how difficult it is. I mean, as I mentioned, City, you know, they thought they were going to do it last year until their manager decided he was going to play without a holding midfielder, ironically, against Chelsea, and excuse me, they lost that game. So it is very difficult to win both. I mean, Chelsea can do it. There's no doubt about it. They can do it. But I think in terms of putting money on it, I think it's slim. But they're going to give themselves a chance. There's no doubt about it. I still think City are the favourites for the Premier League, even without a striker. So it is a difficult task, as a lot of teams have proven. I mean, Liverpool have won both trophies recently, but not in the same season. And so I think just to be in the very fact that people are talking about it's possible for Chelsea tells you how well Thomas Tuchel has done and how people see this squad.
There's a report today on ESPN.com about some of the Chelsea players that want more minutes this season, namely Hakim Ziyech and Timo Werner. Both of them have been linked with a move to Barcelona in January. Now, Barcelona have come out and said that they won't be bringing in any January signings, but that does turn attention to loan deals. And there's a thought that perhaps players like these two could go on loan. With Raheem Sterling looking to be maybe out of the picture, if they can't get him, it could be 2 players like this. Could you see that working out for those players? Could you see that being a fit for them?
I could see, well, I mean, Hakim, I mean, let's take the Chelsea angle first and foremost. It is going to be difficult for those players to get full-time regular minutes because one, Tuchel rotates the team, and two, those players I would not foresee as first 11 starters anyway. Timo Werner didn't have a good enough season last year, nor did Hakim Ziyech, and that a lot of things was down to injury and fitness with Ziyech. But still, I think there was a thought process, certainly under the previous manager of Frank Lampard, that he was a little fragile, a little timid, and a little lightweight for the Premier League, stepping out of Dutch football, and the injuries came along. And we know he's got a super left foot and he can do some wonderful things. But I just wonder long term how much influence he's going to have in English football. And I think potentially he is one of the players that they could look to offload. Now, you know, it depends what Barcelona need. I mean, you talked about the money there. Unless they turn into the Federal Reserve and start printing money, I don't know how they're going to do it. So it's going to be key to them getting players out and maybe potentially bringing players in. But yeah, I don't see Werner going there. I could see Werner going back to Germany at some point. But I could see Ziyech going there potentially as a loan deal because he's that type of player. And I can only see him playing a bit part at Chelsea, primarily because I think he does look at times a little bit lightweight, even though he's a super talented player. And I think that was the view, certainly, of the former manager. And it would seem kind of the view of the current manager.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.